In Chapter 161, Phoenix Fragment, the universe is shaken by the catastrophic energy released from the Celestials, whose remains float as a grim reminder of the cosmic battle that raged for months. Alex, empowered by his dimensional universe and energy-absorbing abilities, faces these celestial titans alone, growing stronger with every battle. As his vector manipulation evolves, he is able to control the immense power unleashed by the Celestials, ultimately defeating dozens of them. However, even after this victory, the Celestial threat remains, hidden in dormant embryos across planets. With relentless determination, Alex hunts down every last one, sealing his place as the Godslayer. The battle's aftermath proves fruitful as he repurposes their corpses into powerful robots and harvests their energy to fuel his ever-expanding universe. With his energy absorption abilities upgraded, Alex now controls an unstoppable flow of power, reshaping the very fabric of his dimensional realm. As he transforms celestial bodies into robots, the knowledge gained from studying their advanced structures further deepens his awe for the First Firmament, the entity behind their creation. This chapter is a testament to Alex's rise as an omnipotent force in the multiverse, wielding godlike power with the calm and calculated precision of a true cosmic entity. Even the weakest celestial held universe-shattering power, mere servants crafted by the First Firmament. After finishing his missions, Alex realized the solar system was still trapped in the mirrored dimension. With determination, he freed it and returned to Earth. Months later, Alex made his grand return, and the world was quick to catch up, spreading urgent news across media channels. Eddie Brock wrote, "He, the Godslayer, the one who turned gods to dust and used their very bodies as energy and armor, he has emerged victorious and is back. The reign of the old gods was over. A new deity, Alex, would ascend." Meanwhile, governments breathed easy knowing they hadn't provoked him further. But as one general recalled past hostilities, he quickly found himself imprisoned, the fear of angering Alex overwhelming any thought of retaliation. On the shield, Helicarrier, Captain America sighed, overwhelmed by the idea of gods being slain right before his eyes. The disbelief spread to his comrades. Meanwhile, Tony Stark found himself in Alex's dimensional universe, gazing at the towering celestial mechs in awe. Unable to resist, he flew toward them, inspecting the mechs, only to face a crushing blow to his pride as he realized their modifications far outpaced his own. Tony Stark, once convinced he was the most brilliant mind on Earth, found himself humbled, unable to match Alex's power or technology. Even his advanced intellect couldn't decipher the techniques Alex wielded. Meanwhile, Captain Marvel, having once plotted to surpass Alex, found herself rethinking her competitive drive. Upon hearing of his celestial conquest, she embraced a new perspective, smiling at her former rival as they crossed paths. Alex, ever confident, teased her about finally letting go of her challenge to him, which only made her beam brighter. Across the universe, Alex's victory over the Celestials sent shockwaves through civilizations, revealing him to be more than a mere mortal. He was a Godslayer, and his dominance was now unmatched. The battle had shattered galaxies and redefined the limits of power, making Alex the new Celestial, the ultimate being in this universe. All civilizations now vied for Alex's favor, eager for his protection. Yet, none dared to approach him on Earth, choosing instead to wait for him to depart the planet and continue his cosmic journey. Among them, Xandar had become the envy of many, its Nova Prime lauded for her wisdom. Simply being under Alex's command had elevated the Nova Corps to untouchable status across the universe. What none realized, however, was that the Godslayer, Alex, whose name echoed through the cosmos, had quietly departed this universe to travel through others. Stepping through a portal, Alex entered a parallel universe within the Marvel multiverse. It was night, with dark clouds obscuring the starlight and only the distant glow of ships scattered across the turbulent sea. On the water's surface, a strange scene unfolded between two men. Charles clung to Eric, using his powerful mental tendrils to reach deep into Eric's mind, desperately trying to awaken him from his hatred to prevent him from drowning. Finally, Charles's efforts paid off, and together they broke the water's surface, gasping for air. As Eric regained consciousness, he suddenly felt a presence behind him, Charles holding him tightly. Panicking, Eric twisted around and shouted, "Let me go! Damn it! Let go of me!" But Charles refused to release him, tightening his grip as he softly urged, "Relax. Breathe. We're safe." After a struggle, they collapsed onto the deck, gasping. Just then, a carefree figure appeared before them, shaking his head with a hint of disdain. Disgusting! Broad daylight, and two men out in the ocean, clinging to each other, rolling with the waves. Even if your desires are that strong, maybe keep it out of the sea. Alex clicked his tongue in disapproval of the decline of morals. Flustered, Eric tried to explain, "No! He was saving me!" Charles remained calm, unaffected by Alex's teasing. But as his gaze fixed on Alex, an unsettling realization dawned he couldn't sense any consciousness emanating from him. It was unlike anything Charles had ever experienced since gaining his psychic abilities. What was more perplexing was that Alex wasn't even part of the crew. Cautiously, Charles asked, "Who are you and why are you here?" Eric, just as confused, echoed, "He's not one of your crew?" Charles shook his head, stating firmly, "He's different. If we'd met before, I'd certainly remember. He's not from this ship." With tensions rising, Alex quickly responded, "I'm not part of the crew, that's true, but I am a traveler, and, well, I suppose you could say I'm one of you." Alex's words came with a hint of uncertainty. His body, now a composition of energy, still retained its abilities but no longer bore its physical flaws. Though he still had an X gene, it was a simulated version, leaving him unsure if he could truly call himself a mutant. Charles, unaware of these details, smiled, elated by Alex's words. "So, you're one of us. In that case, why not join us? Together, we'll stop the Black King. He's trying to provoke a war between two superpowers." Alex smiled back, agreeing with a nod. Indeed, Alex had now arrived in the X-Men universe. Upon his arrival, he expanded his energy domain, quickly noticing the vast differences. This universe lacked the Avengers, and aside from Earth, other civilizations were few and far between, making it much weaker than the cinematic universe. But Alex hadn't come here by chance. He knew this universe held fragments of the Phoenix Force. After the battle with the Dark Phoenix, Alex Locke claimed a fragment of the Phoenix Force, using it to power his expanding dimensional universe. With his strength growing, the time had come to gather all the Phoenix Force fragments. If he succeeded, he'd become a being of unimaginable power. His quest led him to sense a fragment within this universe, likely the one fused with Jean Grey. Absorbing it, Alex traveled to Earth, where he crossed paths with Charles Xavier. As Charles worked to form a team of mutants to counter the Black King's faction, he utilized Cerebro, a device that allowed him to locate mutants across the globe. However, when he tried to probe Alex's mind, he encountered resistance. No matter how much he amplified his psychic waves, Alex remained undetectable. In a moment of frustration, Charles pushed further, only to hear Alex's chilling voice in his head, offering a grim warning. With that, Charles learned a valuable lesson, apologizing for his curiosity. Meanwhile, the other mutants watched this exchange with growing intrigue, recognizing Alex's power and wondering about his abilities, which had already included teleportation, immense strength, and a psychic counter to Charles's own powers. Later, as Eric and Charles set off to confront the Black King, Alex stayed behind with the younger mutants. A playful interaction ensued when Mystique teased Alex about revealing his abilities, drawing the attention of the others who were eager to learn more about him. "Do you like this personality?" Alex watched the younger mutants, intrigued by their curiosity about his powers. With a sly grin, he said, "Some things you just know. If you don't get it, even an explanation won't help, so why bother?" The room fell silent. Banshee muttered in frustration, "He's the same age as us. Why act like he's some wise old sage?" His words echoed across the room, and Mystique regretted bringing up Alex's abilities in the first place. Alex simply chuckled, clearly not offended. To him, they were still children. While they were playing games, he'd already toppled entire worlds, taken down the Celestials, and was now scouring the multiverse for Phoenix Force fragments. His experience far surpassed theirs. Trying to ease the tension, Mystique suggested they use codenames. The group began showcasing their powers, and the atmosphere shifted from awkward to lively. When Alex demonstrated his abilities by effortlessly slicing a metal statue in half, the room cheered. Finally, everyone turned to Alex, chanting his name, eager to see his full power. Banshee, still unimpressed, grumbled, "What powers? Bet he's too weak to show them." Mystique quickly jumped to Alex's defense. "Alex's powers are beyond anything you can imagine. If he let loose, he could destroy this whole place. That's why he keeps them in check." Alex Locke was no ordinary mutanthe, was a force that surpassed even the greatest powers, a being whose abilities were unimaginable. While the newer members of the team, like Banshee, remained skeptical of his power, Alex's past hinted at something much darker and more intense. His strength, immeasurable and far beyond anyone they knew, was enough to leave even the likes of Charles and Eric in awe. But Alex's temper, far from mild, was a ticking time bomb, and though he seemed calm, his resolve was unshakable. While the others continued to doubt, they had yet to witness the true extent of Alex's power. As Banshee taunted him, Alex rose, not in anger, but with a purpose to teach Banshee a lesson in humility. It wasn't personal, just a simple reminder that his strength wasn't to be underestimated. But as he prepared to act, a commotion outside distracted him. A guest had arrived. The sharp sound of gunfire split the air, and the young mutants, unfamiliar with real combat, cautiously approached the windows. What they saw made their blood run cold. An agent, Once an ally, now lifeless and broken, his body a horrific display of violence. The shock was overwhelming, a brutal reminder of the deadly world they now inhabited. The young mutants screamed in terror as they were paralyzed by the grotesque figure before them, their instincts forcing them back. A thunderous explosion echoed in the distance, followed by a towering tornado tearing through everything in its path. The wind sent agents flying helplessly, their bodies crashing to the ground as the storm subsided. A crimson phantom, cold and relentless, moved through the chaos, picking off the remaining agents with brutal efficiency. It paused for just a moment, allowing the mutants to glimpse its face, a terrifying, legendary demon, a predator sizing up its prey. When the dust finally settled, two figures entered the room through a broken window as the mutants huddled together in fear. But something strange occurred. They stopped just short of Alex, an invisible barrier keeping them at bay. Then came a voice from the door, panicked and pleading, offering up the mutants in exchange for their own lives. The voice was cut off mid-sentence, silenced by an unseen force. A middle-aged man stepped forward, his red tie and tailored suit in eerie contrast to the carnage around them. He smiled warmly and introduced himself as Sebastian Shaw, his pleasant demeanor betraying the destruction he had just caused. "I'm not here to hurt you, my friends," he said, his words laced with a chilling calmness. The air was thick with tension as the mutants recoiled in horror at the monstrous figure before them. A ferocious blast rocked the ground, followed by a monstrous tornado tearing through the area, hurling agents like ragdolls. When the storm subsided, the landscape was a nightmarish sight, with agents raining down, lifeless and scattered across the blood-stained grass. Amid the chaos, a crimson shadow darted through the wreckage, methodically hunting down the survivors, its every move a deadly dance of precision. A glimpse of its face demonic and predatory sent a chill down their spines. The fight was far from over, though. Two figures emerged from the shattered window, and the young mutants, desperate and frantic, huddled around their leader, Alex. But an invisible force held them back just inches from him. The desperate voice from beyond the door begged for mercy, but it was swiftly silenced. Then, a man in an impeccable suit and strange helmet stepped in, unfazed by the carnage. "Where's the telepath?" he inquired coolly. As he removed his helmet and smiled, his warmth clashed with the bloodshed surrounding them. "I'm not here to hurt you, my friends," he declared, his calm tone belying the destruction that had just unfolded. "My name is Sebastian Shaw." Shaw's laughter echoed, sharp and mocking, his expectation of a profound insight from the young man crumbling into pure disdain. Shaking his head, he muttered, "You're not even worth my time," and turned his back, the weight of his larger plans pushing him forward. As he stepped into the courtyard, Banshee couldn't help but mutter under his breath, "Interesting and boring? What nonsense." He's delusional. Mystique shot him a scathing look, firmly believing Alex had a power that far exceeded their comprehension. Then Darwin made his move, stepping forward, intent on joining Shaw. But suddenly, his protective instincts kicked in. Shielding Angel, he transformed his skin into solid rock, just as Havoc fired off a barrage of energy blasts, confident his assault would overwhelm Shaw. But Shaw, with a casual ease, absorbed the crimson blast without even flinching, turning Havoc's bravado into pure panic. Shaw's smile, once amiable, now twisted into something darker. The butterfly effect of Alex's presence had snapped his patience. "You've mistaken my mercy for weakness," Shaw hissed, raising a glowing sphere of destructive energy. With a single gesture, Darwin was overwhelmed, his body torn apart from within. Shaw, unfazed, returned to the room, leaving a clear message. Against Shaw, no energy could stand a chance. One by one, he took down the young mutants, with Banshee being the final casualty, sent flying by nothing more than a tap on the shoulder. Shaw chuckled, though this time his laugh was laced with disdain, not amusement. He had hoped for some profound wisdom from the young man, but instead, he found his perspective laughable. Shaking his head, Shaw decided not to press further. "You're not worth my time," he muttered, turning away, already focused on bigger plans. As Shaw stepped into the courtyard, Banshee couldn't resist muttering under his breath. "Interesting and boring? What nonsense!" He's completely delusional. Mystique shot Banshee a glare, silencing him. She still believed Alex had power far beyond their understanding. At that moment, Darwin broke away from the group, approaching Shaw with the intent to join him. But as he neared Angel, he suddenly shielded her, transforming his skin into rock to absorb any incoming attacks. At the same time, Havoc unleashed powerful energy blasts, hurling concussive force towards Shaw. Smirking, Havoc was confident his blast would do the job. After all, they could slice through solid metal. But Shaw wasn't just any man, and Havoc's confidence was about to be shattered. The Crimson Blast stopped inches from Shaw, who absorbed them with ease, the energy dissipating into nothing. Havoc's smirk froze, replaced by sheer terror. Shaw's smile twisted into something darker, the patience he once had evaporating. "You've mistaken my mercy for weakness," Shaw sneered. "I think it's time for a lesson." With a single motion, he subdued Darwin, conjuring a destructive energy sphere and forcing it into his mouth, tearing his body apart from within. Unfazed, Shaw turned and walked back to the room, leaving the rest of the mutants in shock. Against Shaw, who could absorb and redirect any energy, Havoc's blasts and Banshee's sonic waves were utterly ineffective. One by one, Shaw effortlessly defeated the young mutants, the last being Banshee, who was sent flying with just a tap on the shoulder. Alex, Shaw, Angel, and Azazel were left dumbfounded, as they witnessed a level of power beyond anything they'd ever encountered. The young man before them possessed an overwhelming energy that rendered even Sebastian Shaw powerless. Alex casually approached Shaw, sizing up his abilities with a calm, unshaken gaze. "Your energy absorption potential is weak," Alex remarked coldly. "You don't deserve this gift." Despite being restrained, Shaw held on to his defiance, believing the immense energy within him was enough to break free. "You don't understand," Shaw snapped. "I started with the heat of a lighter's flame. Now I can absorb nuclear radiation. Nothing can hurt me." Alex smirked, dismissing Shaw's claims. "That's just a small increase. It's no real transformation. Can you convert energy to matter? Can you stop time or freeze molecules completely?" Shaw was taken aback, silent. He had long sought such powers, but had only failed, convinced they were beyond human reach. Gods were the only ones capable of such feats. But then, the environment began to change. Under Alex's influence, the walls disintegrated, breaking down into atoms, protons, neutrons, and quarks, until only strings remained. Energy swirled around them in mesmerizing shades of blue and violet, destructive yet harmless, encircling Alex like a crown. "This is energy decomposition," Alex explained coolly. "True energy absorption lets you break down matter and extract infinite power." With a simple thought, Alex absorbed the surrounding energy, causing the temperature to plummet and time to slow. Eventually, even the quarks halted, and the very fabric of reality came to a standstill. Time stood still, everything frozen, except for Alex and his companions, who were shielded by an unseen force, moving through the still world with ease. The others stared at Alex in stunned silence as he spoke. "This is what stopping time looks like. It's not the realm of gods. It's within reach, if you truly understand." Then he turned his gaze to Shaw. "But you, Shaw, your potential is far too limited." Chapter 163, TVA. Alex's display of godlike powers left everyone in complete awe. Time might have stopped, but it felt like their own time had frozen too. Even Mystique and Beast, who knew of his telepathic might, were blindsided by his otherworldly abilities. His energy absorption, capable of disintegrating matter, halting time, and bringing absolute zero, was terrifying. Alex's powers were so overwhelming that anyone would believe him if he declared himself a god. But the most shocked was Banshee, who had always doubted Alex's true strength. Believing Alex to be either powerless or weak, he now faced a being whose powers seemed divine. Panic gripped Banshee's heart, fear consuming him as he regretted ever crossing such a force. Yet, Alex didn't care. With a casual wave of his hand, he erased Shaw and his crew, leaving only the haunting remains of battle behind. It was as if the chaos had never happened. After meeting with the mutants and analyzing their powers, Alex stretched, ready to leave. "Raven, I'm off. Tell Charles and Eric I said goodbye." Before Raven could respond, Alex vanished, yet another of his mutant abilities at play. Silence fell, as everyone around wondered just how powerful Alex really was and what secrets he still kept hidden. After leaving the agent's base, Alex didn't rush off to another dimension. He lingered in a small, secluded town where he sensed an immense power: the Phoenix Force. Inside a humble White House, a young girl, about 7 or 8, was building with blocks alongside her mother. Wound-like in the original timeline, was still alive. At that moment, time itself froze, leaving the little girl alone in a world that defied reality. Her mother, suspended in place, and birds hovering unnaturally in the sky were the only signs of the surreal phenomenon. The girl didn't understand what was happening, but she soon discovered the entire town was trapped in frozen time except for her. Enter Alex, appearing through the creaking door and placing a hand gently on her forehead. "Don't be afraid. I'm your guardian angel, here to help you," he reassured her with a calm smile. He revealed the truth. Her mother would die soon unless she agreed to a bargain. "I can save her, but I'll need to take something from you," he explained. "Your mother's life isn't as valuable as the Phoenix Force, so I'll leave something for you in return. Do you agree?" Tearfully, the girl nodded. Nothing mattered more than saving her mother. Moments later, as she fell unconscious, time resumed in the town. Alex had collected another piece of the Phoenix Force, and with 3 fragments now in his possession, the power radiating from them was enough to rival 3 Infinity Stones. Alex had already reached the zenith of a single universe's power, but now, with the Phoenix Force and mastery over time itself, he was poised on the edge of multiversal domination. When Alex steps into a new parallel universe, things quickly escalate as he confronts the forces that control time, the TVA. Despite the chaos surrounding him, including battles against cosmic beings and the remnants of destroyed timelines, Alex moves with cool detachment, contemplating his next move. He'd already shattered the TVA systems, reshaping the flow of time to his advantage and even wielding the power to manipulate entire universes. But in this universe, he faced something new. A world caught in the middle of a devastating battle. Amid the destruction, he crosses paths with a version of the Hulk and the Sorcerer Supreme, where the stakes are raised to a level few could comprehend. What was once a journey of self-empowerment had now become a quest to understand the very nature of reality itself. Would Alex continue to wander, ever growing, or would he take control of the laws that govern existence? Is this conversation helpful so far? The Sorcerer Supreme's eyes narrowed, a sense of impending gravity filling the air as she observed Alex. The energy emanating from him felt infinite, like an entire cosmos compressed into human form. She understood the implications. This man was no mere mortal. He was a dimensional lord, a being on par with Celestials. But the question lingered. Why had he come to the New York Sanctum? And how had he mastered the art of portal magic? Without acknowledging the Sorcerer Supreme, Alex spoke, his voice laced with disdain as he addressed the Hulk. Like Thanos, you drew immense power from Toba. But unlike him, you can't control your rage. Your power is a shadow of what it should be. You aren't even close to a Skyfather. You don't deserve this strength. Bruce Banner, taken aback and confused, stammered, "What are you talking about? I don't understand." Alex didn't waste time explaining. He simply told Banner that the moment he fused with the Hulk, he sealed his fate. Without his most powerful Asethis' unchecked rage, Banner's might had been diminished to the level of an average super soldier. Despite retaining control over his body, the once glorious Hulk was now a mere echo of its former self, his power capped, his rage gone. Turning from the Hulk, Alex's focus shifted to the Sorcerer Supreme. Enough of this delay. Hand over the Time Stone. I'd rather not be forced to use force on someone as ancient as you. Banner, tense and desperate, stepped forward, his voice rising. No, I came first. The Time Stone belongs to me. Before he could even react, Alex moved in a blur. A slap so powerful it felt like a meteor crashing into his skull, sent Banner crashing into unconsciousness. Despite the overwhelming force, Banner didn't fly. He simply crumpled. The sheer power of the blow enough to erase any resistance. With a quick adjustment of the time collar on Loki's neck, she shot forward, creating some distance between herself and the strange figure. Her time baton raised defensively, she pointed it straight at him, her voice laced with suspicion. "Who are you?" The man's smile stretched wide, his reply simple yet cryptic. "Just a traveler." Before he could finish, other agents from the TVA lunged at him, their batons swinging to manipulate his flow of time. Despite their strength rivaling that of legendary heroes, they were no match for him. A snap of his fingers and several TVA agents were frozen mid-move, paralyzed in place. B-15, eyeing the scene in disbelief, gasped, "You've stopped their time. Are you a fugitive time criminal?" Her instinct was to retreat, realizing just how dangerous and beyond her reach this man was. The traveler's grin widened as he shook his head. "No, dear agent. Time isn't just the TVA's domain. When one reaches the pinnacle of personal power, they can command time without any device." B-15, ever the stoic agent, clenched her jaw, her mind racing. The notion of manipulating time without relying on tools like the Time Stone was a concept she'd never even considered in her long tenure. As the tension mounted, Loki, ever the self-important trickster, broke free from the restraint, his voice cutting through the air. "What's this? Let me go!" "How dare you attack the great god of mischief?" Still a far cry from the wiser god of stories, Loki's pride flared as he raged at the audacity of his captors. He gathered his magic, preparing to strike, but before he could, B-15 pressed a button on her controller, returning him to his original position. The magic Loki had conjured fizzled away in an instant. Not missing a beat, she struck again with her baton, slowing him to a crawl, reducing his time flow to a fraction of its normal pace. Meanwhile, Alex, ever the strategist, had already begun analyzing the TVA's technology, his mind working over the nuances of their temporal system. Alex Locke had already surpassed even the Celestials, reaching 100% template fusion, but that didn't mean he had to rely on shortcuts. Tossing aside the Time Stone, he realized that true power wasn't about using such artifact. With a calm determination, he left the Sorcerer Supreme with a parting warning. The TVA was already eyeing this world, and while he'd handle their first wave, after that, it was every timeline for itself. Just as the Sorcerer tried to ask more, Alex vanished, leaving only questions in the air. Meanwhile, deep in the Mongolian desert, Loki, emerging from a portal, found himself stranded. His attempt to communicate failed, and when a squad of TVA agents appeared, his focus shifted to the Tesseract. But before he could act, a new player emerged. A TVA officer named B-15, who arrested Loki for violating the sacred timeline. A yellow baton struck him, freezing him in time. But before she could take him in, a voice from behind broke the tension, raising the stakes. After securing the time collar around Loki's neck, she rolled away swiftly, creating some space between herself and the mysterious figure. Raising her time baton defensively, she pointed it at him, her voice cautious. "Who are you?" she demanded. Alex grinned and replied, "Just a traveler." Before he could finish, TVA agents attempted to ambush him, swinging their batons to disrupt his flow of time. But despite their strength, which was comparable to Captain America's, they were no match for Alex. With a snap of his fingers, several agents froze, unable to move. B-15's eyes widened in shock. "You've stopped their time. Are you a fugitive time criminal?" she asked, stepping back, sensing the danger. Alex smirked. "No, dear agent. The power of time doesn't belong solely to the TVA. When you reach a certain power level, you can command time without any devices." B-15's expression grew grim. Manipulating time through sheer power, without any technological aid like the Time Stone, was something she'd never encountered in her long service. Loki, who had been restrained, suddenly snapped back to the normal flow of time as the forces holding him dissipated. "Who are you people to dare attack the great god of mischief?" he shouted, still clinging to his arrogance. But his words went ignored by Alex and B-15, causing Loki's pride to take a heavy blow. Enraged, he prepared to unleash an attack. However, before he could act, B-15 pressed a button, resetting him to his original position, and his magic dissolved. She struck him again, forcing his time to slow down to 1/16 of its normal speed. From the moment the TVA agents appeared, Alex had already begun analyzing their technology. Impressed by the gadgets, like the time baton, collar, and controller, Alex felt a surge of inspiration. These tools empowered him to enhance his mastery over time manipulation using blue and red techniques. But that wasn't all. He unlocked the ability to absorb energy and create matter. Now, with this newfound power, Alex could replicate a device capable of crossing time and parallel dimensions, reminiscent of TVA technology. Admiring the genius of the TVA's creator, he mused, "I have to say, the genius behind this technology is extraordinary. Controlling time and hopping across worlds with just tech is mind-blowing." B-15 snapped back, anger flaring. "Your understanding of the TVA is wrong. The Timekeepers, not Kang, created it." Alex shrugged, unfazed. Right. The Timekeeper, sure. No issue there. And of course, you've always been loyal TVA agents, never merciless enforcers or time criminals, right? B-15, puzzled, demanded an explanation, sensing deeper implications in Alex's words. But Alex, ever the troublemaker, ignored her confusion and walked toward the golden portal. "Come on, time criminals, you've got an interrogation to handle, haven't you?" he said casually. After studying TVA tech, Alex understood its limits perfectly. Until the god of stories arrived, he was unbeatable. There no force, not even in the TVA's supposed power-suppressing walls, could contain him. As for the Celestial Corps or Phoenix Force, the TVA was powerless against those. B-15, shocked by his overwhelming strength, thought she had steeled herself for his death, but then Alex dropped the bombshell he was returning to the TVA with her. Her heart leapt with joy, believing Alex was walking into a trap, for no one could use their powers within TVA. Staying calm, she and the agents led Loki to the portal, determined to deal with Alex when they were back in the TVA's domain. They stepped through the golden portal, and in an instant, the group found themselves in a realm unlike any other. Alex walked into the dimly lit chamber of the TVA, where a Skrull was in the midst of interrogation. No sooner had they arrived than B-15 and her team pounced, tossing Loki aside and attacking Alex with everything they had. These agents were no slouches. If Alex had been powerless, they could have overpowered him with their combat prowess. But Alex wasn't powerless. Not here, not ever. With a snap of his fingers, time froze around the agents, their bodies frozen in place while their minds remained aware, baffled by the situation. Alex's smirk said it all. "The gap between us is clearer now, isn't it?" With another snap, he released the freeze and commanded them, "Lead me to the TVA, don't try anything, Loki." Loki, who had been edging towards the exit, stiffened. "I really don't think I'm needed here," he stammered. Alex only smiled. "You have no choice. This is your destiny." Loki was soon processed as a time criminal, his clothes disintegrated, replaced by the prison garb, while Alex bypassed all the usual procedures and was led directly to the judge's chambers. Together, they were taken to the courtroom, surrounded by TVA agents, standing like statues in formation, ready for whatever came next. The word is out, and Alex's presence is no longer a secret. The TVA is well aware of the anomaly, someone who can wield extraordinary power within their controlled domain. Loki, looking a little pale, subtly distances himself from Alex, whispering, "Looks like they're not too happy about us being here. If they catch us, things won't end well. How about we team up? I mean, mutual benefit and all that. Let's get out of this mess together." Loki, always the schemer, knows Alex's potential but is still unaware that extraordinary abilities shouldn't even work in TVA territory. But Alex, with a calm smile, simply shakes his head. "Number? When the time comes, I'll leave on my own. But you, my friend, you belong here. This place needs you." Loki, confused by the cryptic message, soon realizes Alex isn't looking to team up. The TVA, shaken by an unprecedented disruption, is in chaos. This isn't the TVA. Their used tone intruder has cracked their defenses, and their systems can't even gather substantial information about this mysterious figure. The only thing they know is his name, Alex. As more TVA agents are deployed to handle the situation, the tension builds. By the time Alex and Loki are brought before the TVA's court, nearly every agent is present. All eyes are on them, the atmosphere heavy with wariness. Loki, usually so composed, can't help but feel the pressure, his usual bravado slipping. Trying to lighten the moment, he leans toward Alex and whispers again, "Hey, are you sure you don't want to reconsider my plan?" As Loki stands there, preparing for the inevitable showdown, the tension in the air is thick enough to cut with a knife. He's not one to be trapped, no, not Loki. But the TVA agents closing in don't care about his theatrics. "Order!" rings out from the judge's gavel. Judge Ravonna Renslayer casts down the law, her voice calm yet unforgiving as she lays out the charges. Loki and Alex, the notorious time criminals, stand accused of breaking sequence 7 to 20-89. Loki's confident smirk falters, and he looks to Alex, hoping for a sign, but Alex is lost in his own thoughts, gazing at the statues behind the judge, not even a glance of help. Loki, left to his own devices, decides to take the lead, brushing off the absurdity with a snide remark. "A god doesn't plead," he says, puffing up his chest. The room seems to hum with anticipation, but no sooner does he utter those words than he attempts to escape with a flourish of his magic. His arms spread wide, and for a moment, you think the impossible might just happen, but no. His powers? Dead in the water. The TVA agents? They're laughing. Loki's embarrassment grows with each failed attempt. The god of mischief, reduced to a helpless fool. Still, his determination never wavers. "Wait!" he stammers, eyes burning with frustration. But even as he stands there, powerless, this isn't the end of the story. Not by a long shot. Is this conversation helpful so far? In the courtroom, Loki's frustration reached its peak as he tried desperately to summon magic, but nothing happened. Judge Ravonna, smirking with amusement, leaned forward, teasing, "What is he doing?" B-15, struggling to keep a straight face, answered, "It seems he's trying to use his powers, ma'am." After countless failed attempts, Loki, utterly bewildered, muttered, "Why isn't this working?" Ravonna, her smile widening with mockery, declared, "Magical powers? They don't work here, Mr. Laufeyson. This court finds you guilty and sentences you to reset. Next case." But Loki, no longer able to contain his anger, shouted, "This is ridiculous. It's not fair. Why can't I use magic, but Alex can still use his powers? You bureaucratic clowns. Not only do you arrest people without cause, but you play favorites. You have no right to decide my fate." The room fell silent as Loki's outburst hung in the air, breaking the laughter that had echoed through the TVA. The real threat, however, wasn't Loki, it was the man standing beside him. With a slow clap, Alex stepped forward, brushing off the agents trying to restrain Loki, his eyes locked on Ravonna with a mocking smile. "Well said!" How utterly absurd time criminals with wiped memories pretending to be righteous while aiding the true villains in destroying countless parallel universes and erasing billions of lives. When did criminals get the right to judge other criminals? Realizing the power he had gained, Alex Locke had no use for the Infinity Stones. Deciding to abandon this shortcut, he returned the Time Stone to the Sorcerer Supreme. As he was about to leave, a thought hit him. The TVA is already eyeing this world. They're gonna prune it soon. I'll handle their first wave, but after that, you're on your own. The Sorcerer Supreme's expression darkened, but before she could ask more questions, Alex was already gone. Meanwhile, Bruce Banner, sporting a swollen forehead, struggled to his feet, even though the Hulk's healing factor couldn't fix the injury. In the Mongolian Gobi Desert, Loki landed unscathed from a portal, though communication with locals proved impossible due to a language barrier. Just then, a squad in black armor appeared, their target the Tesseract. Loki tried to intervene, but another portal opened, revealing a woman holding a strange device. She scanned the surroundings and declared, "It's a standard temporal violation. The branch timeline is stable." Confused, Loki demanded an explanation, but the woman ignored him, stating, "On behalf of the TVA, I arrest you for violating the sacred timeline. Hands up!" As Loki prepared to resist, a yellow-tipped baton hit him, slowing his perception of time. Before she could apprehend him, a voice called out, "So, you're the legendary TVA?" The TVA might seem unbeatable, but even beings like Odin or the Ancient One would be powerless there. Not even Celestials could escape its hold, so what chance did Alex stand? TVA employees, eager to teach this cocky time criminal a lesson, cracked their knuckles and circled him. D90, taking the lead, stepped up with a smirk. "Oh baby, you won't cry too much after I'm done with you. Don't worry, I'll go easy just for your sake." The crowd cheered. "Go D90, crush him! Don't knock him out too quick, we want our turn." Alex's presence was a provocation, an act of defiance against the TVA, the most powerful force in the multiverse. As D90 grinned and taunted, Alex stood unshaken. "Nope, let's do this," he said, calm as ever. D90 swung, but in the blink of an eye, Alex vanished, leaving only the sound of a crash. D90 was embedded in the wall, stuck like a framed painting, and the air grew frigid. TVA agents stood frozen in confusion, fear creeping in. "This can't be happening. How's he still using his powers?" one stammered. "No way. This isn't real." Another gasped. The TVA had never seen anything like this. Alex was rewriting the rules. The second agent lunged at Alex, but was immediately hit by a powerful white singularity. The blast sent him crashing through several walls, eventually sending him hurtling out of the TVA building, plummeting from a great height. The TVA agents, now witnessing Alex's abilities in full force, realized this wasn't some illusion. Alex had retained his powers, an impossible feat within the TVA's realm. After all, anyone in TVA territory was supposed to be stripped of their abilities, with only combat skills remaining intact, thanks to the suppression devices. If those devices ever failed, however, the TVA would be helpless against such beings. Faced with her agents' faltering resolve, Judge Ravonna Renslayer commanded them to attack all at once. The agents charged at Alex, trying to take on a god with the strength of mere mortals. But even Iron Man had met his end, trying to challenge gods with his mortal body. Alex repelled the agents with a single blast, sending them crashing to the ground in pain. As Ravonna watched her forces fall, she quickly fled, but before she could escape, Alex appeared before her, a glowing white singularity at his fingertip. Recognizing the threat, Ravonna used a glowing staff to open a portal to the void at the end of time, the multiverse's graveyard. Gasping for breath, she realized she had escaped Alex's wrath, but the void was no sanctuary. As a TVA judge, she knew the true creator of the TVA resided here. If she could find him and get his help, she could defeat Alex and take back the TVA. But just as hope flickered, the crackling sound of sparks filled the air. Ravonna froze, sensing danger. Slowly, she turned, her heart sinking as a golden portal shimmered into existence. There he stood, the monstrous finger pointing toward her, the singularity gleaming even brighter. "No!" she screamed, her fury reaching its peak, but it was too late. With a snap, Alex unleashed the singularity, ripping through space and wiping her out entirely. The shockwave left a massive tear in the fabric of time itself. Even Alioth, the devourer of all, was momentarily scattered by the sheer power of the attack. Closing the portal, Alex looked around, a faint smile creeping onto his face as he calmly declared, "The time variance authority is mine now. Who stands with me? Who opposes?" The once proud TVA agents were left speechless, unable to oppose him. Just like that, Alex became the uncontested ruler of the TVA. His first command was to gather all agents in the Timekeeper's chamber, where he would reveal the truth. As the doors opened, the Timekeepers, still unaware of the chaos outside, looked down from their thrones, their voices cold and commanding. "What is this insolence? Step back at once! How dare you defy the Timekeepers? You are guilty of resetting. Leave now before you bring ruin upon yourselves." Even Loki, witnessing Alex's overwhelming power, felt the pull of the Timekeeper's authority and instinctively stepped back. For the TVA agents, the Timekeepers had always been untouchable, their power beyond comprehension. The very thought of challenging them seemed impossible. Is this conversation helpful so far? Even those who had once doubted, like Loki, couldn't help but hesitate. They braced themselves for a monumental showdown, expecting the Timekeepers to obliterate Alex, avenging Judge Ravonna and restoring the TVA's false order. But Alex wasn't fazed. He barely acknowledged the three towering figures on their thrones before teleporting right before them. With a single thought, he twisted the fabric of reality, ripping the Timekeepers apart, revealing their true nature. Mere robots, not gods, not all-powerful beings, just machines. The TVA agents were rocked to their core. Some howled in fury, others pummeled the broken remnants of the Timekeepers, and a few wept, releasing years of suppressed emotion. As the chaos faded, silence settled in. The truth hit them all at once. They were just pawns, brainwashed fools, serving a hollow cause. Mobius, a respected senior agent, stepped forward, asking Alex for guidance. Alex, with a hint of wisdom in his eyes, explained that the TVA's reign was over. He wouldn't take control. He didn't want the shackles of absolute power. Someone else would rise to rebuild the TVA, and Alex, with a knowing smile toward Loki, walked away, leaving the destiny of the TVA in uncertain hands. Is this conversation helpful so far? Loki is given an unusual mission by Mobius, not to capture Sylvie, but to open a dialogue with her. But fate, in its ever-twisting way, brings two Lokis together at the very end of time. As expected, Loki returns after the death of He Who Remains, marking the divergence of the timeline and setting him on his first escape through Timean escape that eventually leads him to become the god of stories. Meanwhile, Alex, deep within the TVA's lowest levels, sharpens his abilities while watching the timeline unfold before him. A sudden revelation strikes him. He could gain control over the timeline, replacing Loki as the god of stories if he sacrificed his freedom and bound himself to the very fabric of time. Yet Alex, never one for shackles, seeks a different path, extracting a single timeline, anchoring it to another universe, and using it as an energy source. But reality bites. The timeline can only function within the Marvel multiverse, and manipulating it comes at a great cost, causing Alex to abandon his plan. As time moves on, Alex experiences an unexpected transformation when his system interface explodes with golden light, merging his being with the powers of the root, Rugi Shiki template. The result? An unstoppable flow of energy that reshapes his very soul, opening up a new Dimensiona Minecraft-like omniverse called My World. With a shocking realization, Alex wonders aloud, wait, is this Minecraft? Do you like this personality? Alex, the unexpected wielder of a new and potent power, unlocked a template that threw him into the heart of the Minecraft universe. This was no ordinary discovery. It was the key to a limitless, block-based world that allowed him to create and expand infinitely. As he harnessed the power of My World, he realized that its potential could rival or even surpass legendary abilities. His next bold move was merging his dimensional universe with this new world, crafting a cosmic realm built on the building blocks of Minecraft. What followed was a breathtaking fusion, pushing his power to multiversal levels and accelerating his evolution. The more Alex explored My World, the more he discovered its deeper, bizarre rules, leaving him fascinated and eager to uncover the magic that could reshape not only this universe, but reality itself. With each new skill unlocked, Alex ventured deeper into this game-like world, realizing that the very fabric of existence was within his grasp. His journey, from mastering a new realm to reshaping entire multiverses, would only continue to push the boundaries of what's possible. Alex Locke has reached the pinnacle of power, transcending the Celestials and embarking on a journey across multiversal timeline. With the Phoenix Force fragments in his grasp, his universe expands into My World, a Minecraft-like omniverse that boosts his abilities to unimaginable levels. Along his path, Alex reshapes political landscapes in the X-Men universe, battles the Black King, and ultimately takes control of the TVA, exposing its falsehoods. His new power unlocks the Steve template, fusing his universe with multiversal energy, and he crosses into the Jujutsu Kaisen world, where he effortlessly overpowers Sukuna and Gojo Satoru. Becoming a legend, known as the Heavenly God, Alex challenges the very fabric of cursed energy, leaving a lasting imprint on the Jujutsu world. As the multiverse unravels and cosmic laws bend, Alex must decide. Will he remain a wanderer of infinite realms or become the ultimate lawmaker of reality itself? His journey is a quest for mastery over multiversal forces, where every battle is a philosophical confrontation with the very essence of existence. After reaching the peak of his abilities, Alex Locke, now fused with 100% template fusion, steps beyond the celestial realm into an ever-expanding multiverse. He embarks on a journey to harvest the Phoenix Force fragments, reshaping the multiversal laws and bending the fabric of reality to his will. His powers grow as his universe merges with My World, a Minecraft-like omniverse, pushing his strength into uncharted dimensions. Along the way, Alex crosses paths with Marvel's X-Men, mentors young mutants, and reshapes political landscapes. His conquest of the TVA uncovers its lies, claiming control, only to leave the power in Loki's hand. As the multiverses splinter and collide, Alex enters the Jujutsu Kaisen world, effortlessly overpowering legends like Sukuna and Gojo, earning the title of Heavenly God. But as the cosmic threads unravel and the multiverse trembles, Alex faces a critical decision: become a mere wanderer of infinite realms or reshape reality itself and become its ultimate lawmaker. With endless power at his fingertips, he contemplates the balance of life, identity, and cosmic dominion. Moonlight hits differently when you experience it in person. He suddenly ripped off his shirt, exposing an upper body etched with eerie cursed patterns. Curses are so tasteless. Where are the women? Before he could finish, a crackling portal appeared in the sky, sparks flying, and a silver-haired figure dropped from it, landing squarely on Sukuna's head and pinning him down. Blood dripped from Megumi's forehead as he lay injured, but seeing the silver-haired figure brought him some comfort. After all, this was the strongest sorcerer, Satoru Gojo. Yet, as Megumi took a closer look, his faint smile froze. Something was off. This wasn't Gojo. The hair, the clothing, it all seemed slightly wrong. Who is he? As Alex stepped through the portal, he felt the odd sensation of stepping on something. He looked down to see a pink-haired boy squirming underfoot. Embarrassed, Alex quickly apologized. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to step on you. Realizing his mistake, he stepped off Yuji Itadori's head and moved aside. Upon arrival, Alex immediately recognized the world he was in Jujutsu Kaisen. What was even more surprising was how this world connected to his past. His first template, Satoru Gojo, came from here, and the foundational design of his energy-producing rune matrix in My World also originated from this world's barrier techniques. Jujutsu Kaisen's powers were the first abilities Alex had acquired, helping him when he was at his weakest, so he felt an odd sense of duty to this world. A mischievous grin appeared on his face, one that seemed to hint at a laugh, the kind of grin that only someone like him could wear. Megumi couldn't help but think of his teacher, Gojo, but this new guy seemed even less reliable. After Alex moved off Yuji, the latter quickly leaped to a safer distance, eyes full of suspicion as he watched Alex. Meanwhile, Sukuna was still in control of Yuji's body. Sukuna glared at Alex, his eyes burning with a mix of rage and wariness. What truly shocked him was that Alex had arrived without any noticeable surge of cursed energy. It was clear Alex's strength was beyond anything Sukuna had ever encountered. Then came the weight that crushed him when Alex stepped on him, a force heavier than mountains. Despite his immense power, capable of obliterating entire buildings, Sukuna found himself utterly helpless under that crushing pressure. This humiliation was too much for the King of Curses to bear. Never in his life had he been disrespected like this, let alone trampled underfoot. Alex's careless words, claiming the incident was accidental, were the final straw before deliberately stomping on his head again. Sukuna was pushed to the edge, his fury boiling over. He seized full control of Yuji's body, ready to tear Alex apart. "You little brat," he roared. "I'll rip you apart." In a blink, Sukuna reappeared before Alex, claws slashing toward his waist, intent on tearing him asunder. But just as quickly, Alex vanished, only to reappear several meters away, effortlessly dodging Sukuna's attack. A series of futile strikes followed, each one expertly avoided by Alex, who seemed to toy with him. It was clear Alex wasn't even taking the fight seriously. He was playing, evading with almost careless precision, as if each near miss was part of some elaborate game. "Whoa, that was close. You almost had me." Alex mocked, his tone dripping with exaggerated fear. Sukuna seethed, ready to explode. Meanwhile, a figure clad in black appeared beside Megumi Fushiguro, holding a shopping bag and fiddling with his phone. At first, Megumi remained on edge, unsure if this was truly the person he hoped it was. But when he confirmed it was, his tension eased. With Gojo around, nothing could spiral out of control. Gojo stood there, frozen, staring at Alex with his mouth agape. His eyes, the famed 6 eyes, quickly locked onto Alex's 2 sets of 6 eyes, but Alex's were different. A crimson hue flickered through his eyes, something even Gojo had never seen. The power this man wielded was impossible to fully grasp, yet it was undeniably vast. Even as Sukuna, despite being toyed with, remained a formidable special-grade curse, Gojo contemplated stepping in. But just then, Sukuna paused. Yuji's body began to shift, and with the black markings fading, the second set of eyes closed. Sukuna retreated, allowing Yuji to regain control. As Yuji opened his eyes, he found himself under the gaze of 3 powerful figures. Gojo, with his 6 eyes, confirmed the situation before kneeling down beside him. "Interesting," Gojo muttered, inspecting Yuji. "Are you feeling different physically?" Yuji stretched. "Not at all." "Can you switch places with Sukuna?" Gojo asked. "Sukuna?" Yuji responded. "The curse you swallowed." "Oh, I think so." Gojo ignored Alex for now, his confidence unshaken. After all, Gojo was the strongest sorcerer, and everyone knew that even among Six Eyes users, there were vast differences in power. He stretched lazily, clearly at ease. Alright, let's do this. Switch with him and come back in 10 seconds. With a swift motion, he handed the shopping bag to Megumi, dodging Sukuna's attack as Yuji made his switch. But just when he was about to continue, Sukuna turned on him, abandoning the battle with Gojo to charge straight at Alex. "You brat, I'm going to end you," Sukuna's roar echoed, his fury reaching its peak. The King of Curses had finally been pushed beyond his breaking point. Gojo Satoru, still counting down, was prepared for the storm of Sukuna's wrath. Yet, Sukuna ignored him entirely, his rage now directed at Alex. This time, Sukuna's energy surged, his power amplified by the cursed finger he wielded, all focused on Alex, determined to obliterate him. But despite the surge in power, the result remained the same. No matter how fierce Sukuna's strikes were many times more intense than before, he couldn't land a single blow on Alex. His attacks, even with all that raw energy, missed by mere fractions, just like before. Seeing Alex untouched, Gojo refrained from stepping in. He took off his blindfold, his curiosity peaked as he watched Alex's movements. And then, something unexpected happened. Even the legendary Six Eyes failed to perceive Alex's form. In the cursed energy vision, Alex was nothing but an empty void, a place where nothing existed. Yet, in normal vision, Alex was there, effortlessly toying with Sukuna, an anomaly even Gojo couldn't decode. Gojo smiled, intrigued. Even the Six Eyes couldn't penetrate Alex's mystery. Things were about to get interesting. His countdown continued. 10, 9, 8. When he reached 5, a slight shift in his expression showed his restraint almost slipping. But after seeing Alex's effortless response, Gojo stopped himself, content to watch the spectacle unfold. The school building lay in ruins, completely wrecked by Sukuna's wrath. Amid the destruction, Alex, agile as ever, hopped from stone to stone, sidestepping Sukuna's relentless strikes without breaking a sweat. After hundreds of failed attacks, Sukuna realized he couldn't land a hit on Alex in his normal form. With a grim expression, he clasped his hands together, assuming a strange stance. "Domain expansion! Malevolent shrine!" he proclaimed, and the air around him thickened with cursed energy. An ancient shrine began to rise behind him, its menacing teeth gleaming with a hunger to devour. The sky above turned a deep, blood red, casting an ominous glow over the battlefield. This was the domain of the King of Curses' malevolent shrine, a place of slaughter that had claimed countless lives for a millennium. Even Gojo Satoru felt the weight of this domain, tapping Megumi on the shoulder with his usual teasing tone. "Things are getting interesting. Don't stray too far from me, alright? In here, even I might not be able to protect you." Megumi's eyes were locked on the ancient shrine as he nodded, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of it. "When will I be able to create my own domain?" he wondered. Just as he was about to speak again, he noticed Alex standing calmly nearby. "Gojo-sensei, shouldn't we help him? Inside that domain, no one can dodge Sukuna's techniques." Gojo smiled, his gaze never leaving the chaos ahead. That man isn't just anyone. Alex stood still, even as Sukuna unleashed his domain's deadly power. The invisible slashes of cursed energy tore through the wreckage, yet Alex remained untouched, as if an invisible wall separated him from Sukuna's attacks. Megumi and Gojo exchanged glances, both realizing the truth in an instant. Infinity. In a world where cursed techniques rule, Alex, a being beyond the Celestials, emerges from the multiverse to challenge everything. Having fused with the Steve template, he brings with him a unique power, a Minecraft-like omniverse called My World, and begins his journey by crossing into the Jujutsu Kaisen universe. There, he confronts Sukuna, the King of Curses, effortlessly blocking his attacks with the limitless technique. Even Sukuna's most powerful moves dismantle. Klee failed to break through the 1 meter radius around Alex, making it seem like two separate worlds. After a brief clash, Sukuna, frustrated by his inability to defeat Alex, promises vengeance once he gathers more power, but Alex dismisses him with a raised middle finger. As Sukuna retreats, Yuji Itadori regains control of his body, and Gojo Satoru is shocked to learn that Alex, claiming to be Gojo's 6th grandfather, holds the same legendary Six Eyes and much more. What follows is a battle that transcends everything known about cursed techniques, as Alex shatters Gojo's pride and takes on the title of the Heavenly God. With cosmic powers at his disposal, Alex redefines the boundaries of strength, becoming a mythic figure whose existence alone threatens the very fabric of cursed energy theory. The question remains, will Alex continue to wander the infinite realms, or will he reshape the multiverse, taking control of reality itself? In the heart of the most luxurious building on campus, Alex, Gojo Satoru, and Principal Yaga sat in the principal's office, brewing tea. The air was thick with anticipation as Yaga, setting down his teacup, asked, "So, Mr. Alex, are you really Gojo's sixth grandfather?" Before Alex could respond, Gojo sprang to his feet, slamming his hand on the table. "No way! This guy looks barely 20! How could he possibly be my grandfather?" Yaga remained unfazed, handing Gojo a file. 50 years ago, there was indeed a sixth grandfather, but he vanished after a mysterious accident in his youth. The rest of the records were erased by an unknown force. And Alex here, he has the 6 eyes and can use the limitless technique. It's highly probable he's your grandfather. Gojo flipped through the file quickly, tossing it aside with a sigh. "No way! Am I supposed to call someone my age my grandfather?" Clearing his throat, Alex calmly responded, "Well, my dear grandson, I truly am your grandfather." He explained how he'd been sealed beneath the Antarctic glaciers for decades, his mind and body in a deep slumber. Only recently was he awakened, his memories shattered and slowly returning. That's why I'm here, to find my family, and to tell you, Gojo, I really am your sixth grandfather. Gojo, stunned, could barely process the words. How is any of this possible? Not only did you survive being frozen for so long, but you haven't aged a day, and the 6 eyes, it's all wrong. In a world where only one pair of 6 eyes can exist per generation, Gojo is stunned by the claim that Alex, a mysterious figure, is his 6th grandfather. Initially skeptical, Gojo is persuaded after Principal Yaga explains how Alex's abilities align with the 6 eyes, revealing his hidden power. Alex, who is far from ordinary, reveals that his origins go far beyond the Jujutsu world, with ties to multiversal forces and scientific teams from Antarctica. As the conversation unfolds, Gojo, struggling with the bizarre situation of having a grandfather younger than him, starts to accept this cosmic twist of fate. The true depth of Alex's influence becomes clear when it's revealed that his presence shakes the very foundation of cursed energy. Alex, effortlessly overpowering the strongest of sorcerers, shows that the nature of reality itself is at his command, pushing the boundaries of power, history, and destiny in the process. Do you like this personality? Alex Locke, fully merged with his Rugi Shiki template, holds the power of the 6 eyes with a terrifying twist, can now see death itself. With his gaze, he observes the lines of death on objects, a unique ability that allows him to destroy them fundamentally beyond any healing technique. Despite the allure of such immense power, Alex remains calm, explaining that such abilities come with a price. Enhanced physical strength, the ability to obliterate, and mastery over cursed energy have raised him to godlike status, but it's not without sacrifice. Gojo Satoru, intrigued by Alex's display, finds himself in awe as Alex reveals his true ambitions. Freedom, unshackled by the constraints of his lineage. In a moment of realization, Gojo sees that Alex's spirit mirrors his own desire to break free from the expectations of the world. As Alex journeys across multiversal dimensions, he leaves a trail of destruction, reshaping reality itself, all while questioning the nature of power and what lies beyond it. Alex had his sights set on enrolling as a first-year student at the Tokyo Metropolitan Jujutsu High. The twist? He was already a special grade sorcerer with the power to effortlessly bring about death, thanks to his 6 eyes and limitless curse technique. Gojo Satoru wasn't sure of Alex's full strength, but his sheer potential was undeniable. Gojo, intrigued, decided Alex would undergo a small test before joining the ranks, a sparring match. The stakes were clear: if Alex could avoid losing, he'd earn his spot. With Alex's power potentially rivaling Gojo's, the two engaged in a contest of strength. Gojo, ever the curious one, relished the challenge, suspecting that Alex's youth might still place him at a disadvantage. But Alex wasn't just here to compete, he was a force of nature, and this battle would redefine cursed energy as they knew it. Do you like this personality? As the members of the Tokyo Metropolitan Jujutsu Technical School watched Alex, who shared the same 6 eyes as Gojo, prepare for their sparring match, the air buzzed with excitement. They immediately stopped what they were doing, eager to witness this unprecedented showdown. Panda, especially, couldn't contain his enthusiasm, turning to Zen and Maki with a clenched fist and asking, "Who do you think will win?" Without a second thought, Maki responded, "It's obvious. Gojo Sensei, no question. He's the strongest of our era, even if he's a bit unreliable." Inumaki Toge nodded in agreement, offering a quiet bonito flakes. In the arena, Gojo was already stretching, preparing for the fight, while Alex stood relaxed, hands in pockets, radiating an air of indifference. This irked Gojo. "Six, Grandpa, come on now. Don't underestimate me. I'm the strongest here," he declared. Alex, with a serious expression, responded, "Of course not. This is all just a facade. I'm already on high alert and fully prepared. Gojo, seeing only openings in Alex's posture, dismissed his words. But he was ready to teach him a lesson. Lowering his stance, Gojo said, "Six, Grandpa, get ready." Without warning, Gojo vanished and reappeared in front of Alex, launching a powerful punch aimed at his abdomen. But as expected, Alex's evasive skills proved superior. His body swayed just enough for Gojo's punch to miss, even when it seemed like it should have landed. This reminded Gojo of Alex's earlier claim about his physical abilities being comparable to heavenly restriction. At first, Gojo had thought little of it, but now, the true weight of those words hit him hard. This wasn't just a match, it was a clash of titans, pushing the boundaries of what everyone thought possible. Alex wasn't just skilled, he was on another level. His movements smooth as smoke, dodging every attack with precision. The crowd was in awe, especially Zen and Maki, whose eyes gleamed with admiration, seeing a mastery she had always dreamed of. Even against Gojo, Alex was untouchable. He not only avoided Gojo's attacks, but minimized his range with such mastery, it was like he had studied the very fabric of the fight. And when Gojo tried to up the ante with cursed techniques, Alex matched him instantly, his blue technique colliding with Gojo's, neutralizing it like they were on the same plane of existence. The tension in the air was palpable, and Gojo's frustration grew as he realized he couldn't find a way to outdo Alex. The battle was no longer just about technique, it was about power, strategy, and something far beyond the traditional understanding of cursed energy. When Gojo finally spoke, the smile was gone, replaced by genuine caution. "Six, Grandpa, be careful." The crowd, bewildered, had no idea what to make of it. Even Panda, always sharp with his hearing, couldn't believe his ears. Gojo had just called Alex his sixth grandpa. And just like that, Alex cemented himself not just as a fighter, but as a mythic figure, a force of nature that defied all logic and understanding, shaking the very core of what they thought they knew about power and existence. Gojo wasn't holding back anymore, ready to unleash cursed technique reversal. Red. But as he began, he noticed Alex mirroring his every move. This wasn't just a challenge, it was a provocation. Alex was after the same victory, with the same moves, and Gojo knew it. Instead of anger, it only made him grin wider. Finally, a real fight. The air crackled with energy as both Gojo and Alex conjured black-red singularities at their fingertips. They expanded, crashed, and exploded in a deafening boom that sent shockwaves through the battlefield, forcing onlookers to retreat. The debris cleared, revealing a massive crater between the two combatants. Gojo and Alex hovered above the destruction, the battle far from over. Gojo unleashed Curse Technique Reversal, Red and Curse Technique Lapse, Blue pulling out all the stops. But despite his best efforts, Alex dodged every blow. Minutes dragged on, Gojo's breath growing heavier as he realized something shocking: he wasn't unbeatable. Despite his godlike status, Alex's powers seemed to rival and even surpass his own. What struck Gojo harder than anything was the fact that Alex was actually younger than him, sealed away for decades. Exhausted, Gojo stopped, a tinge of resignation in his voice. Has the mutated Six Eyes really become this powerful? Not only is your strength unmatched, but your control over the Limitless surpasses mine. Alex landed gracefully, looking untouched by the battle. His expression was calm, almost pitying. You're still too inexperienced, young one. The Six Eyes and Curse techniques are just tools. There's more to power than you think. True strength is not just about raw power. It's the unyielding will and mastery over oneself. The ability to control everything around you, that's true dominion. But Gojo, looking a bit lost, asks, dominion over all? He's never heard of that kind of power. Alex, slightly embarrassed, clears up the mix-up, explaining that Jujutsu isn't the be-all, end-all. The real power comes from the individual. Take Sukuna, for example. A king of curses whose attacks were basic slashes at first, yet he rose to dominate his era with sheer will and force. Gojo isn't convinced though. He insists personal power is important, but Jujutsu is Kihi and others like him, equipped with the Six Eyes and Limitless technique, stand where others can't even reach. Sukuna's raw strength might be unmatched, but Gojo believes no one can break through the infinite defense of the Limitless. The battle rages on, and the crowd grows silent, the weight of Gojo's words sinking in. His perspective on the dominance of Jujutsu techniques resonates deeply, especially with Maki Zenin, who understands all too well the pain of not being able to wield Jujutsu. Her strength is raw, physical, but without cursed energy, she's been rejected. Finally, Alex speaks up, calm but firm. No, Satoru, you're wrong. My strength isn't defined by the Six Eyes or Limitless. It's through constant pushing and breaking limits that I've become what I am today. The confidence in his voice is undeniable. Do you like this personality? All right, let's see what you've got. You can use whatever techniques you want, but I won't be using any of the Gojo clan's methods. No Limitless, no Curse Technique Reversal, Red, No curse technique amplification. Blue, and not even hollow technique. Purple. Alex smirked, his tone steady. I'll only rely on techniques I've developed myself. If I win, it'll prove that hard work and personal strength can surpass natural talent. Gojo, intrigued but unshaken, accepted. Alright, I'm in. Let's see if you can back it up. With that, Gojo raised 2 fingers. Domain Expansion Unlimited Void. A tidal wave of cursed energy surged outwards, spreading in a 100-meter radius. The endless flood of information from the void attempted to overwhelm Alex, pulling him into its trap. But Alex remained still, unfazed. He didn't even flinch as Gojo's domain crumbled. Gojo stared in disbelief. Alex hadn't done anything. The domain was utterly powerless. How is this possible? Gojo muttered, trying to comprehend. It was as if Alex had somehow nullified the core of the domain, not just blocked it. Is this something beyond a simple domain? Gojo's mind raced. Shaking off his shock, Gojo sighed. Seems like I have no choice. Time to bring out the big guns. 6, Grandpa, you know how insane this technique is. Be careful. He raised his hand, unleashing his most devastating attack. Hollow Technique Purple. A swirling purple sphere erupted, combining Curse Technique Lapse, Blue and Curse Technique Reversal, Red at full power. It was a force of annihilation, capable of obliterating space itself. With a flick of his finger, Gojo launched the sphere, rocketing toward Alex at supersonic speed. Grandpa, dodge it! That's purple! It'll destroy everything! Gojo warned, his voice filled with concern. But Alex didn't flinch. He stood calm, watching the sphere close in. Just before impact, Alex raised his hand, and a shimmering purple longsword materialized in his grip. With a single, effortless swing, he cleaved the unstoppable sphere in half. The 2 halves veered off, leaving a trail of devastation as the residual energy ravaged the landscape. The energy from Alex's strike tore through space, obliterating everything in its path, even past Gojo. Stunned, Gojo could barely process the impossibility. Hollow Technique. Purple. Neutralized with ease. Before he could react, a chill ran down his neck. A thin trickle of blood followed. Alex's voice echoed mockingly behind him. See, Satoru? True strength isn't in cursed techniques or the 6 eyes. It's about personal mastery, strength of self. That's what reigns supreme. Gojo clenched his fists, torn between awe and frustration, as Alex's laughter echoed across the battlefield. A strange force clung to the wound, preventing recovery and even worsening the injury. Gojo felt the lingering energy hadn't even reached its full potential yet if Alex chose. That alone could end his life. From birth, Gojo had been considered a genius, a prodigy with power gifted by the heavens. He'd only faced true challenge from exceptional opponents like Toji Fushiguro, the Sorcerer Killer. But today, against Alex, for the first time, he felt fear and insignificance. What kind of cursed technique was this? Could something like mass conversion really alter imaginary mass? Gojo began to grasp the meaning behind Alex's words. Personal ability transcends cursed techniques. Observing Gojo's confusion, Alex sheathed his sword and spoke with a mix of wisdom and authority. Listen, kid. Personal ability trumps all. There's no such thing as a useless cursed technique, only a useless sorcerer. What do you have beyond your ancestors' legacy? You lack innovation. You have no deep understanding of cursed techniques, and your manipulation of cursed energy is basic at best. You're wasting your talent. Against average opponents, sure, you can win with numbers. But against true powerhouses, you'll lose. The onlookers were stunned, insulted. Were they average? Were they being belittled like that? If Gojo's understanding of cursed techniques was crude, what did that say about them sorcerers who had always lived under his shadow? Yet no one dared speak up. From the battle, they'd already realized. Alex, Gojo's supposed 6th grandfather, was a force more terrifying than Gojo himself. Gojo snapped out of his thoughts and asked, Grandpa, the power you used, did you develop it all by yourself? A strange force was halting the recovery and even worsening the injury. Gojo Satoru instinctively sensed that the lingering energy on the wound was far from reaching Alex's full potential. Just this residual energy alone could claim his life if Alex desired it. Since his birth, Gojo had been considered a genius, a prodigy graced by fate. Aside from rare encounters with formidable opponents like Toji Fushiguro, he had never faced defeat. But today, as he clashed with Alex, he felt something unfamiliar. Fear, a sense of insignificance. What kind of cursed technique was this? A sword that could convert mass? Could such an imaginary force truly alter mass like this? Gojo began to understand what Alex had meant. Personal ability surpassed cursed techniques. With a flick of his longsword, Alex spoke, his voice heavy with experience and wisdom. Listen, kid, personal ability trumps everything. There's no such thing as a useless cursed technique, only a useless sorcerer. What else can you do besides relying on your ancestors' legacy? No innovation, no real understanding of cursed techniques, and your manipulation of cursed energy is as basic as it gets. You're squandering your potential. Against ordinary opponents, sure, you can win with sheer numbers, but against true powerhouses, you'll be crushed. The onlookers, insulted by his words, couldn't help but wonder, was he calling them average too? But none dared to protest. They had already witnessed Alex's overwhelming power Gojo's own ancestor, as he claimed making him an even more terrifying presence than Gojo himself. If Gojo couldn't stand up to him, what hope did they have? After a moment, Gojo broke from his daze and asked, "Grandpa, the power you just used, did you develop that yourself?" Alex, having mastered the technique Reversal Red, knew how easy it seemed when Gojo Satoru spoke of it, but the complexity of executing it was a whole different story. After a tense silence, Gojo finally managed to grit out, "Not excessive." Alex, unfazed, pressed on, explaining that when Technique Reversal Red and Technique Lapse Blue merged, they created the purple orb, representing hypothetical mass, which, being mass, could be manipulated. So, if he forged weapons like longswords from this mass and unleashed sword energy, it shouldn't be considered excessive either. Gojo, now deep in thought, wondered if Alex's cursed techniques were truly the same as his own. The possibility of such feats, though theoretically achievable with control and cursed energy, seemed beyond even Gojo's comprehension. It was like knowing you could manipulate molecular motion with electromagnetic forces, yet the precision required was so astronomical that it made Gojo question if it was even possible, 6 eyes or not. But Alex wasn't done. He continued, "You know time and space are interconnected. With the limitless technique, blue and red, I can control time, even reverse it. Logical, right?" At this, Gojo couldn't hold back any longer, exclaiming, "No! Reversing time is the domain of gods." Others chimed in too. Principal Yaga laughed awkwardly, saying no human could wield such techniques, citing that the only time-related technique was Master Tengen's immortality, which came at a great cost. Zen and Maki muttered in disbelief, "You can't just make things up like that. No human could do that." Panda, sensing the tension, glanced nervously at Alex. "Do you like this personality?" Alex hadn't caught Maki's comment, much to Panda's relief. In a hushed whisper, Panda urgently warned Maki, "Shut up! Even if Alex is exaggerating, he's still way stronger than Gojo-sensei. If he hears you, you're toast." The group quickly realized that Alex shared a mischievous streak with Gojo Satoru. Not out of malice, but just a tendency to leave everyone around him helpless. Right as Panda finished speaking, he felt a hand moving over him, exploring his fur. When Panda turned, his body froze and he quivered in place, not daring to move. Alex was stroking Panda's fur, clearly enjoying its softness. After a while, Alex looked at Maki and remarked, "Yeah, this Panda's got a point." If I'd heard that, things would have gotten ugly. The room froze as the weight of Alex's threats sunk in. Panda quickly jumped in, pleading, "Mister!" "Alex?" Maki didn't mean any harm. "It's just that your powers are so overwhelming she couldn't believe it." Trying to smooth things over, he added, "If you forgive her, I'll let you pet my fur again." "It's super relaxing." Alex stroked Panda again, nodding. "It's pretty soothing, alright? Fine. I'll let her off this time, because of Panda." Panda sighed, thinking everything was cool, but then Alex added, "However, Maki, it's unwise to jump to conclusions without the full picture. As a small punishment, you'll be grooming Panda every day from now on." Panda immediately raised both hands in agreement. "I'm all for this, a perfect lesson in discipline." Maki, however, shot back. "No way, I need to train. I don't have time for this grooming nonsense. Besides, everything I said was true. Those techniques you mentioned are just impossible. You're just bragging." The words cut through the air, drawing the attention of everyone around. They were all skeptical of Alex's claims. After all, he hadn't shown a single thing to back up his boast aside from a hypothetical longsword. Undeterred, Alex simply smirked, unbothered by their disbelief. "Alright, let me show these people of this jujutsu world what I'm really capable of," he said calmly before making a sweeping gesture. "Step back. It's time for my grand demonstration." The crowd quickly retreated, giving Alex ample space. He raised his hand, and an orb of azure energy appeared above his palm, glowing with a mysterious aura. "This is the standard curse technique lapse. Blue," Alex explained. As he spoke, the orb darkened, turning from blue to black as it began to grow in size, becoming a menacing black hole. When gravity reaches its absolute limit, you get a true black hole. The world around them began to bend as the gravitational pull intensified, tearing apart the earth beneath their feet and dragging the very sunlight into the void, casting everything in an eerie twilight. Panicked screams echoed as the crowd begged Alex to stop. With a small chuckle, he let the black hole remain for just a moment longer before dispersing it, preventing any lasting damage. As the group stumbled in shock, Alex grinned, unfazed. Now, when repulsion reaches its absolute peak, you get something even more incredible. A new orb appeared in his hand, this one swirling with black and red, growing until it became a brilliant, white-hot singularity. With a flick of his wrist, he released a supernova, sending an explosive wave of force that hurled the crowd backward, further disorienting them after the earlier gravity effects. And just when they thought things couldn't get worse, Alex began to manipulate time itself, rewinding and fast-forwarding moments, forcing everyone to repeatedly experience the effects of his power over gravity and repulsion. His smile never faded, even as he made the laws of the universe tremble under his control. The sensation of being yanked back and forth felt endless, but in reality, it was just a few minutes thanks to Alex's absolute mastery over time. By the time he stopped, everyone was completely drained. Even Satoru Gojo, who prided himself on being untouchable, was doubled over, gasping for air. Without Alex's protective measures, some weaker individuals might have been ripped apart by the force. As they tried to recover, Alex grinned and said, "This is what it looks like when you master gravity, repulsion, and time manipulation." Any more questions? Everyone shook their heads in unison, a clear "No!" escaping their lips. The thought of enduring that torment again shut down any doubts. Alex, seeing their silence, sighed dramatically. What a shame. I was hoping for another round. With a sly grin, he turned to Gojo and asked, "So, my dear grandson, have I passed your little test?" Gojo, clearly defeated, sighed and answered, "Of course, you've passed. From now on, you're officially a first-year student at the Tokyo Jujutsu High." As they all left, they couldn't shake the feeling of being in a dream. Alex's display had shattered their understanding of cursed techniques. They realized that even Gojo, once thought to be the peak of Jujutsu sorcery, wasn't the ultimate. Alex had proven that there were depths of power beyond their comprehension. His performance didn't just inspire awe, it sent ripples throughout the Jujutsu world. Word quickly spread of the godlike sorcerer Alex, a being far beyond Gojo's strength. For Gojo, the experience was humbling, yet it ignited a fire in him. For the first time, he had someone to surpass. He immediately dove into intense training, determined to create his own unique curse technique. The same drive spread throughout the school, as both students and teachers trained harder than ever, inspired by Alex's overwhelming power. Alex unknowingly ignited a revolution in the Jujutsu world, his very existence bending the limits of sorcery and leaving a lasting imprint on the cursed world. His feats pushed the boundaries of what sorcerers thought possible, leaving the pillars of Jujutsu High rattled. Soon, the title Heavenly God spread far and wide, echoing across the land. After Alex's epic sparring match with Satoru Gojo, everyone scrambled to learn about this mysterious Heavenly God. The big three families, the most powerful clans in the Jujutsu world, quickly gathered intel, with the Zenin and Kamo families using their newfound knowledge to pressure the Gojo family into a tense week-long negotiation. What went on behind closed doors was unknown, but when the meeting ended, a Gojo family envoy sought Alex out, trying to convince him to embrace his bloodline. Alex, ever indifferent, silenced the envoy with a single slap, leaving the Gojo family in stunned silence. Frustrated, they tried to contact him again, but he decimated their forces, making it clear they were no match for him. With no promises from Alex, the Zenin and Kamo families attempted to win him over with wealth and cursed treasures, only to realize they had been manipulated. When they joined forces with the Gojo family to confront him, Alex wiped them out effortlessly, leaving the big three no choice but to announce Alex as a permanent ally. In the face of such power, they submitted, understanding the nature of those who dominate the weak and show mercy only to those who rule with force. As Alex's name spread, rogue sorcerers and cursed spirits alike took notice, some even daring to challenge him. But whether in search of glory or driven by fear, they would soon learn that standing against the Heavenly God was a fatal mistake. On the sun-kissed shores of Dagon's domain, cursed spirits would often gather, their hands filled with files about the mysterious Alex. Among them was Kenjaku, inhabiting Suguru Gato's body, and Mahito, each analyzing the data with intense focus. Kenjaku, sipping his coconut juice, leaned back, a smirk crossing his face. Heroes in this world are like grains of sand, always popping up one after another. I thought Satoru Gojo was the strongest sorcerer. Who would have guessed someone stronger would appear? With 1,000 years under his belt, Kenjaku knew the strength of Gojo was unrivaled, until Alex entered the scene. Reports indicated that even Gojo couldn't last more than a few minutes against Alex, which shook Kenjaku to his core. Jogo, scoffing at the news, refused to believe the hype. To him, Gojo was a show-off, and Alex, just another legend. waiting to be shattered. If only Geto hadn't held me back, I would have already taken Gojo down. Without him, no one could stop us, Jogo seethed. But Kenjaku, ever the strategist, knew better. He dismissed Jogo's bitter rant. Gojo's title of strongest wasn't just a rumor, was earned through countless battles and victories. If Gojo couldn't be taken down by these cursed spirits, then Alex, who outmatched even him, would be an impossible target. Kenjaku, however, had no interest in throwing away useful pawns, so he warned them. No, Jogo, Satoru Gojo earned his title as the strongest. You might want to reconsider your plans before chasing your own doom. Is this conversation helpful so far? Alex Locke, once a mere jujutsu sorcerer, has transcended his limits, now embodying the status of a mythical being, the heavenly god. His power stretches beyond the known multiverse, far surpassing that of any ordinary sorcerer. The mere mention of challenging him is like tempting fate. Jogo, cautious and yet defiant, chooses to target Gojo first, knowing that facing Alex could lead to certain annihilation. Kenjaku, ever the strategist, advises this as the wisest course of action, yet Jogo's arrogance compels him to laugh off the notion, unaware of just how deadly the cosmic power of Alex truly is. Meanwhile, a new chapter unfolds at Tokyo Jujutsu High, with Yuji Itadori and Nobara Kujisaki arriving as first years. Alex, having seen it all unfold, is already aware of the trials ahead for them, knowing that Yuji's fate is intertwined with a dark force that will test the limits of life and death. As Alex continues his journey through worlds, the question remains, will he choose to wander the infinite realms or become the architect of reality itself? Do you like this personality? Gojo wasn't holding back anymore, ready to unleash Curse Technique Reversal, Red. But as he began, he noticed Alex mirroring his every move. This wasn't just a challenge, it was a provocation. Alex was after the same victory with the same moves, and Gojo knew it. Instead of anger, it only made him grin wider. Finally, a real fight. The air crackled with energy as both Gojo and Alex conjured black-red singularities at their fingertips. They expanded, crashed, and exploded in a deafening boom that sent shockwaves through the battlefield, forcing onlookers to retreat. The debris cleared, revealing a massive crater between the two combatants. Gojo and Alex hovered above the destruction, the battle far from over. Gojo unleashed Curse Technique Reversal, Red and Curse Technique Lapse, Blue pulling out all the stops. But despite his best efforts, Alex dodged every blow. Minutes dragged on, Gojo's breath growing heavier as he realized something shocking: he wasn't unbeatable. Despite his godlike status, Alex's power seemed to rival and even surpass his own. What struck Gojo harder than anything was the fact that Alex was actually younger than him, sealed away for decades. Exhausted, Gojo stopped, a tinge of resignation in his voice. Has the mutated Six Eyes really become this powerful? Not only is your strength unmatched, but your control over the Limitless surpasses mine. Alex landed gracefully, looking untouched by the battle. His expression was calm, almost pitying. You're still too inexperienced, young one. The Six Eyes and Curse techniques are just tools. There's more to power than you think. Alex didn't really need to join this mission. It was beneath him, too trivial for someone of his power. While others embarked on their tasks, he wandered the streets of modern society, savoring food, drinks, and entertainment, all funded by the generous compensation from the big three families. Holding an ice cream cone, Alex was about to hit the theater when a commotion caught his eye. A banner for a Takada autograph event fluttered in the wind. Takada? He'd heard that name before Todo Aoi's idol, right? Figuring it would be an interesting diversion, he decided to join the long line, stretching out like a dragon ahead of him. People were clearly in love with the idol, but for Alex, it was simply a way to pass time. He had seen it all, known it all. His vast strength let him see the world's deepest secrets. But sometimes, he craved the mystery, the simple joy of discovering something new. His omnipotent awareness was often repressed, allowing him to experience the world as ordinary humans did. When it was his turn, he approached Takada, greeting her in fluent Japanese. She immediately sensed he wasn't a fan, but she maintained her professional demeanor, offering a cheerful blessing. Alex responded politely before leaving the venue, not particularly moved by the encounter. He'd seen far more remarkable individual Shiros and villains alike throughout his countless journeys. But today, Takada was just another person, her charm unremarkable compared to the legends he'd known. Yet, there was something oddly satisfying about blending into the mundane, experiencing ordinary human life. As he exited, a familiar face in the line caught his eye: Todo Aoi, towering over the crowd. Alex didn't try to hide his gaze, and Todo quickly noticed him. Thinking Alex was admiring Takada, Todo flashed a wide grin and gave a big thumbs up, his teeth gleaming white. Alex returned the smile, then turned and walked away. It was clear that Todo had no idea who Alex was. Alex continued on his way to the movie theater, the film just starting, so a bit of tardiness wouldn't hurt. But as he passed by a cafe, his steps halted abruptly. He ran a hand through his white hair and sighed. Guess I'm not watching that movie today. Inside the cafe, 4 figures sat in a booth, deep in conversation. Suguru Geto was the first to speak, asking Jogo if he really wanted to turn the tide between humans and curses. Jogo responded, eyes scanning the room with disdain. Something like that, but there's more. Humans are full of lies, hiding their true motives behind fake emotions. But the negative emotions, hatred, malice, the will to kill those, are the real truths. We curses, born from those truths, are the real humans. The imposters need to vanish. Geto wasn't fazed by Jogo's fiery speech, replying calmly, "And yet, right now, it's you who's being wiped out." "That's why we're here," Jogo snapped. "We need your help to defeat the sorcerers." Geto raised 2 fingers. "2 conditions before you go to war if you want to win." "What are they?" Jogo asked eagerly. "First, we must ensure Alex and Satoru Gojo can't fight. Second, we need to recruit Sukuna. I've got a special grade cursed object, Prison Realm, which can seal anything inside. I only had one until Alex showed up. I've made a second one, more powerful than the first." Just as Jogo was about to ask more, the cafe manager approached and politely asked, "Excuse me, sir, have you decided on your order yet?" Jogo, irritated by the interruption, immediately tried to incinerate the manager with his cursed flames. But when he unleashed his cursed energy, the manager didn't flinch. It was as though the curse had been nullified. Suguru's gaze hardened, sensing something was off as he fixed his eyes on the manager. Could this ordinary-looking manager secretly be a sorcerer of unimaginable power? The manager, clearly uncomfortable under their intense scrutiny, checked himself for any visible flaws and asked, "Is something wrong, sir? Did I do something to offend you?" Meanwhile, Jogo, growing desperate, kept trying to activate his curse technique, his power futilely crashing against an invisible barrier. Enraged, he decided to abandon curses altogether and physically crush the manager. But before he could move, a voice, lazy but dangerous, cut through the air. "Ugly freak, I suggest you don't do that unless you want me to get a little carried away and erase all of you in one go." Everyone turned toward Jogo, their attention drawn to the hand resting casually on his head, effortlessly sealing all of his cursed energy. Alex had arrived. The reason Jogo's curse didn't work was simple: Alex had suppressed it entirely. Suguru wasn't surprised that someone could subdue Jogo Satoru. Gojo could do it easily. What floored him was that, until Alex spoke, none of them had even noticed he was there. How long had he been quietly observing them? What kind of power could cloak someone so completely? This was the Heavenly One. No matter how many reports they had read about Alex's power, nothing could prepare them for the real thing. Now, standing in front of him, Suguru and the others truly understood what that name meant. The realization was chilling. We're doomed.